among us. I pray for our city council members. I ask God that you would give them great wisdom, that you would cause them to see beyond the here and the now. I ask, Father, that unity would reign among us. And I come against all the words that have been spoken about Uvalde. It will not be in a terrible place and have a terrible name and be avoided. I thank you, Father, that as a community we will band together and Uvalde will indeed recover, and it will be better than before. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4, citizens input. Major Lee Awesome. Yes, sir.
Is it my turn?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What I wanted to speak to you guys about today, and speak to everybody about today, is responsibility. And that responsibility is what has happened with these officers that we've seen in the videos in the hallway. Because as far as I'm concerned, it should have been a no-brainer. All these folks should have been fired. A couple of them should definitely be criminally charged with negligence. And we're seeing none of that. Instead, what we're seeing is officer safety. And I gotta tell you folks, the American people are tired of it. Okay, we're tired of hearing the excuse of officer safety. Okay? We don't see any firemen standing outside of a burning building talking about, I'm not going in there for fireman safety. Okay? So we need to do something, and we need to do it right. The American people are watching. This right here, this negligence to do something about what could have been avoided. I mean, I just saw on Facebook a couple months, these guys have brand new equipment, brand new gear. It is your job, okay, as officers, to put yourself in between the bullet and the citizen. That is the job, okay? That's what you signed up for. You didn't sign up for free donuts at Burger King. You didn't sign up for special rent when you live somewhere because you parked your officer car there. You know what I mean? You didn't sign up so that you and your blue line buddy could break the law and you guys could look the other way, okay? You signed up, they signed up to protect the citizens, okay? Enforce the law, sure, that's a good thing, but protect the citizens is number one, okay? And that's what they need to do. And when they don't do that, okay, we don't want to hear excuses. We don't want to hear officer safety. We don't want to hear any of this crap, all right? We want to see results. We want to see responsibility taken for the actions that happened on this day, okay? There is no more time to wait. Has any one of these guys been fired? Any of them? One officer. There were 370 some odd officers there. Was one of them fired at all yet?
We have one for the city of Uvalde on suspension.
Not suspension.
Yes, sir.
Is that suspension with pay?
I can tell you, I don't know.
Okay, okay. Yes. Okay, suspension with pay, great. So I can just be negligent at my job and then take a vacation, huh? Is that what we're telling the American public, that that's what's happened here in Uvalde?
So we started an internal investigation. We've got an outside agency doing an internal investigation.
How long is
One
this?
of our officers.
Great, how long is this gonna take? Because for my investigation, it took me about 5 minutes of watching that video to fire all of the criminal in charge of cops.
60 to 90 days or more, we don't know. He's already started the investigation.
60 to 90 days. In 60 to 90 days, we're gonna get some
There's still
responsibility.
other investigations going
Are
on.
we gonna get responsibility in 60 and 90 days? Are we gonna get everybody obeyed the policies and procedures?
Cardinals
and
plan on
what's
gonna get my
gonna be
suit
done?
up.
What are you gonna get?
We're
For the
gonna-
family members.
when this investigation is done, whatever actions he comes to do, there's nobody involved in this investigation with the city, it's completely outside people, and free range to do what they want to do.
Right, with the investigation, but the investigator's not in charge of firing.
He's not in charge, but he'll give us, he'll tell us what procedures we need to follow, what he needs to go, what needs to happen, so.
Okay, well, hopefully the investigator's not
do you expect these cops in this town to respect us if they don't even respect the laws that they're supposed to uphold? I didn't honestly know what I was going to come up here and say. I've had a lot on my mind about this, but this is absolutely ridiculous. It's not that hard. You look at the video, you watch the evidence, and you make a decision, okay? I understand there's investigations going on. How long are the investigations going to take? These investigations can go on for years, okay? And then what do you think is going to happen? Do we have to show up here every time there's a city council meeting and wait for something to happen? Or are we just going to have city council members that actually have the stones to stand up and say, you know what? Our police department, they effed up. They did the wrong things. They didn't do what they're supposed to do. And they thought about themselves before innocent children. I have kids at home. I have 4 kids. I love my kids to death. And if any one of those officers would have put hands on me to go into that school, they wouldn't have to kill me. I don't care. Any officer is gonna have to either kill me or get dead. That's not gonna fly with me, okay? When I see any of your officers making mistakes, I will publicize it, and it will absolutely be for everybody to see, and I will make sure it gets out across the world, okay? I've got people watching right now from Switzerland, Norway, Denmark, the UK. Everybody's watching this, guys. We just need to actually stand up and do something about it, okay? I get you have to wait for a protocol and you gotta do all this stuff. It's not that hard. There are people who want to work, and there are a lot of good law enforcement officers out there. There are a lot of bad law enforcement officers out there too. And I would say a majority of your law enforcement in this city, I don't know about the county, but about the city, needs to be changed out. Okay, I'm not from here. I have property near here, and I have property in the county. You know, and this is really sad. Like, I love coming down here, and it's sad that parents can't even go in and get their kids. It's sad that we have to sit here, you know, be talked down to, like that gentleman was a little bit. You know, it's really not that hard, guys. Come on, do better.
Do better.
The cover up.
Do better.
And Erie County.
I come all the way from Western New York. I'm down here to address this council today. And part of my job and what I do for a living is to maybe help bridge that gap between law enforcement and the citizens, because there's a huge gap there. And in my entire history, in my entire career working on this behalf, I've never in my entire life seen somebody with negligence that puts more police officers in danger across this entire country and world than your guys' police department down here. So what I want is accountability for these officers who put all the other officers in danger. Because if you guys want to talk about officer safety, we ought to talk about heroism. Because officer safety is nothing more than cowardice, all right? I don't know if you guys want to hear a Yankee come down here and roost your board because you guys ain't getting stuff done.
Yeah, do it.
But
Yeah.
here we are from Western New York to down here to demand some change down here and ask for some accountability on behalf of the Erie County family. Because you guys are putting my officers in danger in my county, in my state. You guys are holding no accountability. You guys want to put them on vacation? That's what you guys want to do? You guys want to put these guys on vacation, give them pay? To put all the day officers in this whole country in danger because you guys don't have the galls, the stones for accountability. That's what we want down here today. We want accountability. We want answers. We don't want, oh, we're going to investigate ourselves, find no wrongdoing, and we're going to go about our day. Because there's no bigger cowardism than this city down here. Don't go in there and they want to use children as human shields. What is wrong with you guys? How do you guys call yourselves men down here? All you down there, out there, I got a Uvalde Police Department member over here with a blue line flag, desecration of the American flag on his face. Why is his stripe not yellow for a yellow line gang members down here in Uvalde? That's what we want to know.
Yeah.
And how is that appropriate to desecrate a flag on his face right now? Blue line gang stuff?
This is the Yellow Line. This is home of the Yellow Line gang members, guys. And you guys got to change that. It's up to you guys to change it. The police ain't going to change it if you guys don't hold nobody accountable for this.
Right.
This whole country is put in danger by this council right here because nothing's being done. If I do, also I'm a mechanic in my trade. If I leave a tire loose on a car, nobody's gonna give me paid vacation when that guy loses his life because the tire came off. Your police department's tire came off the other day, and we want answers and we want accountability. On behalf of the Erie County fam, I drove and flew many miles to come down here and talk to you guys today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So let you guys know, thank you to come down here. If you guys want to be men, you guys better get your board on gear and you guys better get your act together down here. You don't want to have to come down here and address officer safety. Again, nowhere in this country does any police department in this history of this country ever put police in more danger than you guys are.
That's right.
And then, past that, the citizens, children. There's children in this room who've seen things they should have never seen. Them officers should have been in there getting shot at, not waiting outside arresting parents.
Yeah.
You guys are a disgrace.
Yeah.
And you guys better hold some accountability. The management, whoever's running the show, you guys better do something
Do
about
your
it.
job.
I come down here with my cockroach crushers today to make sure you guys hear the message loud and clear. Nobody in this country wants to hate police officers, all right? We all want to love them. We all want to appreciate them. We all want to call them when we got a problem. What are you guys doing to that image? You guys think about that? Now let's think about that when it comes down to some accountability for these officers, because that's what the people are here. They're holding signs that say accountability. All right, that's what we want.
Yeah.
And I yield back. Ms. Yankee will sit down and listen to the rest.
Gracias, mil gracias. The people feel free to speak here. Gracias. Gracias.
Some of my questions were already answered, but I just had a couple of questions. Hello, everybody?
Yes.
I had a couple of questions. Some of them were answered already, but one of the things that I wanted to ask is how we're going to change the perception that we see our police officers, because I was happy to tell my son that they were going to have a lot of state troopers there. They had fences, maybe he'd feel a little bit better. But he told me, who cares if there's cops? They're not going to do anything anyway. And I just didn't know how to answer that. And I feel like it's the police department or the cops to help change that perception. How are we going to do that? Because I want him to go back to school, but I'm not going to send him back until he feels comfortable, until she feels comfortable. So I can't do that. I can tell them that they're going to do a good job, but how are we going to do that? How are we going to change? Are we going to raise standards? Some of the police officers, they ran 20 yards and then they were breathing hard, and they were the way they acted. What can we do to raise the standards to make them feel more comfortable? Because it's not about us, it's about the children. And I haven't heard anything about what we're going to do to help them feel better.
One of the things that I would tell you, we're bringing in teams. They're top of the line instructors to meet with our bill and start retraining and additional training for our officers. We realize we have to earn this community's trust again, and we're going to do everything that we can to do it. Contrary to what all these other people will accountability, there will be accountability. We do have a process that we have to follow. I can promise you there will be accountability, and we are going to try to earn, not try, we will earn this community's trust again.
Is it possible for you to do some type of physical or weight type, where they have to meet a physical test? A lot of them seem like I'm overweight, right? But some of them seem like they're a little bit overweight, and image is everything in my opinion, right? I mean, if you look, sometimes you see the border patrols, they look more professional, they get more respect. And when you're not in the tip-top shape, it doesn't represent, nothing against anybody, right? But it doesn't represent a good police officer in my opinion. So I don't know if they could somehow raise the standards on you know, the weight limits or the physical tests that they have to. I know in the academy they do some tests, but I don't know if they keep up with that or not. And I feel like that would maybe make them feel a little bit safer as well. That's just my opinion.
They need courage.
And I would look at maybe trying to set up a little commission, some family members, some community members, some council members, and we can discuss that. Would you be willing to participate in that?
I'd be happy to, yes.
Why don't you have that already?
A public apology to the kids.
None of them have apologized.
So I did have another thing. The current fountain that we have over there, I've been talking with some of the family members, some of the teachers, and other community members, and we will pitch in to, if y'all would consider doing like a koi fish pond there where we have the current fountain. We, as a community, will pitch in and pay for all the koi and all the equipment, because I think that it brings peace. Some of the parents, especially some of the ones that had injured children, when they go over there, they get anxiety or they get these flashbacks. And maybe doing something like feeding the fish might help them feel at ease. So I wanted to throw that idea out there. And if y'all consider it, maybe I can look a little more into it. Like I said, we'll take care of the cost, or maybe talk to the botanical gardens to donate some fish. But I wanted to throw that out there and see if y'all would actually consider it.
We are in the process, it's already started, I talked to you, but we're really redoing that fountain. What you see today, maybe tomorrow, I'm not going to decide what we're doing, so it's going to look much better, and we'll consider maybe some fish. We gotta get the fountain in shape.
All the
Okay,
all
so-
the filters, the entire fountain shape.
So would it be possible to maybe put some fish in there or some? It's coming from not only me, but family members. I try to work directly with some of them, and I think that would be nice, but I'm glad to hear that it's being, but please take consideration some of the, it was a great decision to clean it up. It looks better. They're emptying it out. But if you consider that, a lot of the kids love feeding the fish. It's very peaceful, and people would come and look at it. I think it'd give the pause a little bit better look. So if you consider that, I really appreciate that.
That memorial needs to be made out of marble, and every one of those children's names need to be etched in it for everyone to know.
Yes.
Jack Miller?
Sheepdog.
There's like a fight. The people on there are watching your live stream.
Y'all's live stream isn't working, they're watching mine. It's kind of sad.
Oh, Jack Miller, San Antonio, Texas. This is my card. You're gonna want it. And you wanna give it to all your police officers because I'm gonna make y'all my hobby. I'm a civil rights activist. I catch bad cops. I appreciate you guys. Citizens are telling me you give them extra time here, and I'm glad that you're letting them vent. Very important. And I'm glad you're talking about fish ponds, and you're talking about getting people involved. That's great, and I commend you for that. But you are not doing enough.
Yeah.
Every cop that was there that did not go in, no amount of training is going to cause them to go in. They were already trained. I was a cop right after Columbine. And they came out with active shooter training. And as soon as I heard that day, before video came out, I started telling everybody they weren't following their training. And I'm here to tell you, if a mass shooting happens again in your city, these same police are not going to run in. You don't have to take my word for it. Look at what they did. They were trained to run in and stop the shooter. And they didn't. I'm not anti-cop. I'm just telling you, that's the facts, right? They didn't do it. And they should have. We all know now they should have. They didn't. So what do? You disband. You get rid of every single cop that was there that did not run in there when that guy was shooting.
Yeah.
You get rid of them. Is it going to cost you money? Absolutely. And I don't think there's one citizen in here that will not sign that check. Let them sue. protecting them if they are, see ya, sue away. We don't want them here faced with the same decision ever again. They've already showed you what they'll do, even with the proper training. So please, bring in somebody to train the current officers? No. They need to be gone.
Yeah.
You bring in new officers, the state will kick in, you apply for emergency assistance, they'll handle your law enforcement, so you start hiring guys here and girls here, right? They'll do that, and you train them. So that's what I have to say about that. They've already demonstrated to you what they will do. Lieutenant Javier Martinez today got out of his car, got in our faces, and wanted to fight us because we told him to put on his seatbelt. Come to find out, he was the first officer in that school.
Professional.
He wanted to fight us, but he would not run in. We have it on video.
I'll show you all if you'd like to.
You need to get rid of him.
Those are
Your police officers show up, get out, and they have to push him back in his car. And they left because we weren't doing nothing wrong at all. And your police knew that. He needs to go, please.
Yeah.
Last thing. If you guys don't get rid of your police department, nothing against you. I commend you for everything you're doing for these residents and children. But I'm going to teach your residents how to recall you. You all know what recall is. And take my word serious. Call Leon Valley. You got a smirk. I already know who you are, and I know why you got a smirk.
He always does.
Shit.
Call Leon Valley and ask them what happened the last time I told the city that I was going to have you recalled. We had 2 council people recalled, police chief fired, city administrator fired.
Sir, I'm
True
gonna tell you
story.
right now, I'm gonna tell you right now.
Yes, sir.
You wanna start a recall on me, start the damn thing.
That sounds good. I expect nothing less from
I'm
you.
signing the petition, because the one thing I'm tired of. People like you come from outside.
I don't care what you're tired of. We have people like you.
It's 20 kids
We're tired of people like you.
Because of the culture here.
Tell
We have
us.
to come.
You
We're
cuss
tired of
people
people like you.
out.
Everywhere.
You cuss people
You're
out.
ready to get citizens in America.
That'll be enough. That'll be enough, or I will clear the
There
check.
is
That will
kids
be
in
enough.
here, there is kids from Uvalde
That will be
here
enough.
that are traumatized, that don't need to hear the yelling.
Please be respectful, man.
Oh,
I am
well,
trying to be respectful.
Don't say you're tired of people like us. That's disrespectful.
If you yell
No,
out
but you're
again,
not
I'm
thinking
gonna
about
have
the
you
kids
removed
that are
from
in
the
here.
check.
Well, this is adults.
I lost my niece and she was one of the victims, and my kid is
understand that,
here.
that's why I'm here.
Okay, but don't be disrespectful with him because
Well, don't defend the
he's
cowards.
the one.
Don't
He's
defend the
not a
cowards.
coward. He's the one person out of everybody who wears the governor, wears everybody.
Why is he
He's
yelling
the
at
only
people that want
person.
change then?
He's the only person who listens to
And
us.
he cusses
I
people
know y'all
out.
don't know that. I know y'all don't know that because y'all not from
He
here.
cusses
but
people
he's the
out.
only
He investigated everything on this whole
He don't let
situation.
people talk.
We have
We're
to
not the
live
mainstream media.
it.
We
We
don't-
have
we
to
don't
live
edit
it. We
everything
have
out.
to live it. We're here every day. We wake up here, we go to sleep here. We have to send our kids back to
I wake
school.
up crying about
Hey
this.
guys,
He knows
hey guys,
it.
I love you.
But don't
Okay, let's keep moving
disrespect
forward.
I've been asked by a parent to
Let's just keep talking
put it
about
down
it.
on
Exactly.
for his child.
Think
So
about
let's
the
just
kids that are
let's just
here.
do that for a second. Can we? For a second, please. I know that emotions are high. Guys, this is how you get these emotions down. You get rid of your police. That every single officer that was there, not every one of them, but everyone that was there that made the choice to not enter while the shooting was going on, even though they promised in their training, in their active shooter training, this started way back in Columbine, that they would. They promised everybody that they would. They
Maybe this
just
isn't a
needed to
place
be
for
gone.
children.
They should have quit. They have
It's our
not.
community.
You guys
We
have
can
the,
whoever we want in here.
you guys have the power
It's at home.
to say bye-bye.
This is an intense.
I'm thanking you, please do that. And ask DPS to come in and help you guys out while you get new officers in. Please, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
I'll encourage everybody here in the press, if you're listening, Google, hold on a second. All you have to do is Google Texas Peace Officer Termination. You will find the very first thing that pops up that tells you how you can terminate a peace officer. We're following that to the T. You can't go against it because it's a state law.
Can you tell me what happens if you terminate against that state law? What happens?
I don't know, but
I'm
I'm
fault-
not
let me
going
tell
to
you-
break the
okay.
state law.
I will tell.
If we break
I
the
will
state
tell you what
law,
happens.
what is that? How does that make that right?
Okay, I'm gonna answer. This is what happens if you guys.
I'm being honest and I'm being truthful.
I know of the law you're talking about, and you are telling the truth. Let me tell you what the penalty is for breaking that law. There is no criminal penalty for doing it. It brings you up on civil liability. That's it. And like I said, I don't think there's one person in here that won't sign that check.
But it sets a
That is
precedence, and setting a precedence in a group like this, on something like that, when you're going against a law.
Rosa Parks.
You know that.
Let me tell you.
I think a
Rosa,
precedent is what we need here.
please. Rosa Parks saw a law that carried a criminal penalty, and she said, screw that, I'm gonna break that law.
That's a little different than this.
It is not. It's a law. You're using the law to not fire a cop?
No, not exactly. We're following the law and what the state says.
Right, so this is a law you don't need to follow. You need to fire the cops. That made the decision not to go in there.
It's a precedent you
The
don't want to
penalty,
set.
if you're in a war, I'm a veteran, if you're in a war zone and you don't fight, the penalty is death. It still is. If you run away, I can shoot and kill you. All I'm asking you to do is fire them. And let me tell you, the law says I can kill them, but my God says I can't. But if you're on a battlefield with me and you run, I'm going to shoot you as soon as I can. Even though my God says I can't kill, that's what you're going to get. I'm going to violate that law and I'm going to seek forgiveness. You fire the cops in violation of that law and you seek forgiveness from them. You seek forgiveness from these folks, please. Thank you. And as far as the recall goes, look, if you're not getting rid of these cops, that's a promise. You got to get rid of them. Later on, you can let me know by email or whatever if you're for getting rid of the cops or not. If you're for getting rid of the cops, I'll leave you alone. But if you're not, like you, no. Okay, then you let me know. Later on, you let me know if your position. But anybody up here that is in a position that you're not going to push getting rid of the cops, I'm going to do everything in my power to educate the citizens on how to conduct a recall. And that's about the only thing I can do that's legal, right? Okay, thank you. And I'm approachable. You can call or talk to me anytime.
Let's move on, sir.
I'm giving up my spot for anyone else, someone else.
You can hand it to one of these guys.
You want to go to the Uvalde people next? Okay. Michelle Crowley.
Great setup you have. Okay, on May 24th, 2022, there were 19 children and 2 teachers who were brutally massacred at Robb Elementary. Their lives were snuffed out. And yes, there were several injured. As the evidence slowly and painfully emerges, we are now confident that many of those lives had a chance at survival had only action been immediate and first aid rendered. Our tax dollars fund the city and many departments, including the city police department. In return, we expect a well-organized, professional, competent, and respectable force. What we have instead, what we are traumatized again and again by, is an inept, unstructured, national embarrassment of a circus tent full of smug clowns. These clowns continue to cruise our streets, sporting their tarnished badges, and walk around with their heads held high as if they did no wrong. If any of these individuals who were on scene that day had any shred of decency, they would at a minimum look these families in the eyes and say that they made a horrible mistake. But I don't believe any of them have. Nothing? But at best, they should turn in their badges and move on. So yeah, we keep going in circles on this topic. This is because it's approaching 3 months and we are still being placated with tidbits or being outright stonewalled or being given excuses. And the truth is, if no one was speaking out at any of the podiums, no action of any kind would be sought. I don't know this police department's policy is regarding officer-involved shooting. But all of us know that a well-structured department would put their officers on some kind of leave pending investigation, as well as require a mandatory mental health evaluation. But nothing common sense has occurred by action of the department or by this governing body. We know you are tired of hearing our pleas and our tirades. We know there are many community members that are not supportive of our efforts. Some feel we have no business fighting for what's right. Others complain that we are doing it wrong. And I say to them, by all means, if you are holding on to the playbook for how to get through this, then please share. Regardless, your negative comments are noted, but if you don't have the courage to speak your mind in person to any of these grieving families, looking them in the eyes, then your comments have zero value. As Berlinda has said, we are not done. And I will add that we will not be silent, we will not back down, and we sure as hell won't be intimidated. The dead, the wounded, the traumatized, and all their families deserve better than 3 months of lackluster performances by all parties in question, including some sitting before me. To emphasize our determination, we are submitting formal complaints against specific officers who are at minimum partners in gross negligence. We expect immediate feedback and full cooperation from this governing body who is employed by the people. We are prepared to take this to the next level.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Jesse Giselle. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about outsiders coming into Uvalde County and bringing these emotions like that. I understand you have feelings and you have the freedom to speak and you got every right. But we had this happen the last time around. Some guy comes in, breaks all the cameras. It's all good for like a little 15 minutes of fame, and maybe you made a change where you're from. But there's a way to handle things. You know, you got 2 little kids. Apologize to them. They had a walkout. Excuse me, sir. You had the young lady here having an argument with somebody. Sometimes I wonder if I should even address you and just ignore you. I don't know how I feel about that, but I think that's unacceptable. I understand that we need to hold people accountable. We've been trying our best to try to hold everybody accountable, but I also understand that there's a process. I understand that it may take some time. You look at history and you wonder, George Floyd, you wonder a lot of different things, and eventually the time comes where you look at the evidence and you say, I need to hold these guys accountable. Now, if you don't charge them, that changes the spectrum of the ballgame, totally changes it. But in the meantime, while you're gathering the data, that information, you have to sit back and be patient with it. And in order to understand it, you have to ask clarifying questions. I mean, let the people, whoever's here, that totally understands how the grievance works when you charge somebody, the grievance, how much time they have. Until you fully understand that, and once you've exhausted all those resources and nothing happened and someone got ignored, then you come and fight. Then the gloves are off. But in the meantime, when I get done here in a minute, when you guys have a chance, if somebody's very familiar with the process, not, I think, or possibility or whatever, but if somebody really understands the process, feel free to educate us on it. Because maybe that's what we need. Yesterday, in addition to that, if you can kind of, in a little bit, tell us, if you can, where Mr. Biden stands as far as like you suspended him, where he stands in the investigation, how much more time do you anticipate? Yesterday we asked Dr. Harrell, we brought up the active shooter protocol. He couldn't answer, he couldn't tell us how many times they did the drills from 2020 when they adopted the program. We asked him from March, they did the training, his own staff conducted the training, not just for the school, but for multiple people. He couldn't tell us how many times Mr. Redondo or anybody did the thing. I don't know if he just drew a blank, but it's failed leadership. And I'd like to hear from y'all. I mean, I'm assuming that being you're part of the police, you don't just hand it over just to the UCISD. You know, if you run these drills along with them, and how often you run the drills with them? Every month, every so often, and then where do you document it? That they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. You did have a good point. I mean, you can do all the training in the world, but if you don't have the heart, you don't have the courage, then you're not going to go in. That's obvious. A good friend of mine from Bates, Hector Elizondo, veteran, Iraq, lost a finger, almost lost a leg, lost people at war, roadside bomb. He's mad, and he says, I think the problem that you had is you didn't run the drill over and over and over where it becomes the instinct. And it's a tough lesson. Lost a lot of children, lost teachers. It's horrible. But we're at this point now. You gotta hold them accountable. But the people that you're gonna hire, the people that are gonna come in, gotta check themselves. Do you have it in you? And if you don't have it in you, just check yourself out. You mentioned that you're conducting an investigation that could take about 60 to 90 minutes. Excuse me, that'd be nice. 60 to 90 days. Dr. Harrell, when we asked him if he had considered an investigation like that, I know you can't answer for him, but if you could explain, I know it's a lot of questions, but if you could explain the pros and cons of something like that, can't see a con with it, but if you can kind of tell us that, and the cost, and how did you determine to go with, I think you said it was Jesse Prado or something like that, how do you determine that you're going to go with Jesse, and are there a lot of companies that do this type of investigation?
Sure, I mean, two things I engage in. One, I mean, we called around to a man and done an investigation here in 2004. We asked him to give us a name. We also talked to people in San Antonio. We got about, I wasn't involved in the prosecution process, but I want to say there were 7 to 8 names that were given to us. This guy came high and recommended from different law enforcement agencies, and so that's the one we chose. Also, one of his deals was, it will be his people and him doing the investigation themselves. Like I said, nobody from the city will be involved in the investigation. We won't be briefed on anything. It will go back to the city attorney and city manager on that, and then will come to us with what we need to do and what we need to change. He started his investigation. One of the things we're moving into now is to look at our policies. To answer your question on active training, I don't know that it happened 2 times that we've done it in the last 4 years, in all honesty. There may have been more that I'm not privy to, but I don't know but 2. And each time we weren't in charge of it, I think it was run by the school. So I'm just playing the cards we take. I don't know what the procedures are. I know we have a policy there. I don't know, like I said, I don't know what was done in that point. But the last one was done and written by Peter Redondo of the school district. And in that particular deal, he named himself as the incident commander on that active shooting group. And so I'm not making excuses for anybody. There were numerous, I've said from day one, every agency that was in that hallway has to be accountable. And right now, as it is, the only person who's really started an investigation is EPS is doing an internal one. Border Patrol is in the process of picking somebody to do something. As sheriff's department hasn't done one yet, that I know of, nor, everybody there has to be accountable. But so, I mean, we will get these answers, and we will take action on what we find.
And the cost?
I couldn't tell you the cost, I mean, I don't.
Not that it's, I mean, it doesn't really matter, I suppose.
I would tell you it's probably gonna be in quite high, you know, in the thousands of dollars.
Have you, I'm assuming that you and the judge and Dr. Harold, y'all speak, have you recommended something like that to Dr. Harold?
I've called for everybody to call for investigation of what went on in there. Every agency. I haven't talked to Hal directly about it, but I mean, he knows my opinions on it, we need to do, including we were doing ours, start going on ours. And I told Judge Mitchell.
I'm assuming something like that would be important, so that obviously the more evidence, the more you have, the more solid your case is gonna be, whatever action you decide to take against every single individual. Nothing further, thank you.
Roy Mata?
I hold off until we hear from Lalo on Kenny.
Okay. Gabriel Salazar?
Mayor, council members, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Gabriel Salazar. I'm the assistant principal of Flores Elementary. I'm here to talk about a different issue.
You want to add to the agenda? It's one of our agenda items. So
You want me to wait?
We'll call you.
Mr. Trimble?
Hi. Adam mentioned the pond downtown, the square, and I think that's a wonderful idea, although I don't know if those fish can survive in this heat. But something along those lines I think would be wonderful. I do think that we need to really be cognizant of bringing peace to the area in every way that we can. And I am wondering about the memorials, and I'm assuming that the families are highly involved in that aspect. I'm wondering if the city's citizens can be involved in that. And if so, I would like to be on a committee. I'm just gonna ask if I can be put on a committee. I think that there are certain things that oftentimes are decided and they're just kind of decided upon. And I think that it'd be wonderful if outside citizens could be involved, of course, yielding to the families and to the parents first. I'd also like to tell you that Max from Kerrville, he's the artist that has put together all of those monuments at the cross of Kerrville, has offered his services and has told me that he would be more than happy to come here and to share his expertise, what he's learned, what to do, what not to do, and would like to just be a part of this. He's a very rich resource, and I do have an idea, and I'll go ahead and put it out there for now. And that is, I think it'd be wonderful to have a beautiful blazing cross, maybe silver, with 22 doves spiraling around it to signify, to honor these children and family members that, you know, the husband that was lost. I think it could be done rather beautifully, and I think it could be done very tastefully. And I would like to ask the families to consider that. Thank you.
Mr. Rude?
evening, council and staff members, visitors, family members. Diana Odell Carew, citizen of Uvalde, Texas. We keep coming before you. We continue to ask the same questions. We continue to be angry about the lack of answers. And personally, as I listen to these gentlemen from out of town that aren't from here, don't have to live with our tragedy, it's personal. It's personal. It's not something that happened somewhere, it happened to us. And I always tell people, I can call out my family members, but you can't. This is our family. Uvalde is our community. Yes, we appreciate those of you that are coming from outside, bringing your ideas, shouting your anger, creating some chaos in our city to some extent. We need to shake it up. I know that. But these are our people. And we need to work with them to get this right. And so it angers me to hear, the gentleman last meeting, like, go away. Let us fight our own battle. This is our fight. And we are more than capable of fighting it. We don't need outsiders to come in and mess it up. Because you're gonna go away and we're still gonna be here.
This fight affects the whole country.
Well,
And 2 weeks before,
Let
They need thanks. You need to thank them, Diane.
I believe in the kids. Your kids are your family. These cowards are not your family.
This could happen
I love
anywhere.
those
This
children.
guy's
I have
talking
children.
about a
That's my
precedent.
I'm
We
gonna
need
give you
something right
It's
now.
okay, it's okay.
If you outburst again while she's speaking,
I
you're
apologize,
gonna be
sir.
removed from here.
I apologize.
Whether you like it or not, you're
Yes,
gonna be
sir.
removed.
Yes,
So
sir.
if you speak out again when somebody's speaking, you're going out the door. We're gonna show the respect.
Believe me, I'm angry at my council. I'm angry at my councilman. I'm angry at our police. I'm angry at our school district. I want it to change, but I want to be the one that works with this community to create that change. We do not need the madness that's coming from outside. And please, respect the fact that we are telling you we can fight our own fight. I've come to this council repeatedly to also ask for accountability, to also ask to do the things that you can do. I understand there's a criminal investigation underway, and at some point, I pray, and I know many others do, that there will be individuals that will be criminally charged for what happened on May 24th. But I know that's outside of your purview, outside of your authority, nothing that you can do in that particular venue, but you do have the ability as an employer to do some things with your employees based on performance, based on expectation of the job that they were hired to do. Last time I was here, I asked for possibly considering desk duty, get them off the streets, because it is insulting to us to see them out there daily like nothing happened, even though something significantly horrible happened. And so again, I'm asking the council if you would please do what you can internally, looking at them as employees, following the rules of how you fire a law enforcement officer. And I'm not even saying you need to fire all of them, but you definitely need to hold them accountable to the level at which they participated on that day. And so we keep coming back to you. We will keep coming back to you. I support the individuals that have been working together, Michelle Prouty, Adam Martinez, Jesse Riesel, Emma Trimble, Pastor Myers and his wife. We're dedicated to this fight, and we're going to keep coming back, and we're going to keep holding you accountable. And so we're not going away. And I know you know we're not going away. And we're just going to continue this fight, and we can do it ourselves.
Love has no boundaries. Thank you for all of you who came showing your heart and your love.
Yes,
and we
at
need
least
police
you care.
officers with the right heart.
Care.
You're right. They're never going to run in. If it happened again, they would never run in because they don't have the right heart.
May I please speak in the part of Ismail who gave up his speaking position?
I'm gonna finish with the Uvalde people first. Then we'll go
No
back.
problem.
Pastor Myers?
I want to back you for just a couple of minutes, hopefully. The Bible says that we need to honor authority here on this earth. I've been living here in Uvalde for 69 years. I am from Uvalde. And I'm angry at all of you. And it is very hard to honor you when we don't see any results taking place in almost 3 months. We have always honored the police in the streets, in the car, wherever, in the restaurants, in the grocery stores. My husband has always stepped up the plate and gone up to them and tell them, thank you for your service. For veterans, he's always done that. Now, whenever I see a police officer, I don't know if he was one of the ones in the hallway. So I look away. I don't even want to look at him in the face. And I know that it takes time to do what you have to do. But there comes a time when you have to take action. There comes a time you have to take action. I heard that the principal from Rob was reinstated as a principal again. Is that correct, sir?
I have no idea on the school year. My understanding
From
was
Rob.
reassigned.
From Rob.
She was reassigned to assistant director for special education.
She was reinstated?
Not for principal.
I'm sorry?
She's doing a different job. She's working at, a special office now. Yeah. She got her job back.
So why would she get her job back when she didn't do a good job when she was there?
You have to ask them.
I'm sorry?
You have to ask the school district. We have nothing to do with that. They reinstated.
Wow. I thought that maybe somehow, some way, all of you worked together.
No.
As the city, as the school, we all work together.
We all try to work together, but we have no say in what they do. It's like that, when their policies, what they do. It's like we don't consult them on our policies.
So I guess it would be fair to say that my grandchildren that wanted to come to live here with us from Phoenix, 4 grandchildren.
At least they care, Diane. At least they care to speak.
I don't trust them with the board from the school. You guys have nothing to do with that there, right?
I didn't. It's these other people.
Yeah, and it's too bad, and you know, we need to hold people accountable, sir, Mayor. We need to hold people accountable, and at one time, I think I heard you a few weeks ago, maybe about a month and a half ago, I think I heard you say, we were at the Civic Center, you said that it might take up to 2 years for an investigation, for the investigation.
That's not me, that's what the district attorney said. That's not me to say that, that's what she tells us it might take up to 2 years.
Wow. So meanwhile, sir, all these families, they're getting tired, sir. They're getting tired, they're getting frustrated, they're feeling hopeless. Like me, I don't want to leave Uvalde. I'm from Uvalde. I've been here 69 years. I don't want to leave Uvalde. This is my home and I want to die here. But I feel uncomfortable when I see a police officer. I feel uncomfortable, and I'm not going to go out of my way to make his life miserable because he can stop me and arrest me. Because he has a badge. But these people, sir, they need to be accountable. You guys need to do something
as soon as possible so that we can feel secure and safe here in our home in Uvalde. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, City Council. When I was in the workforce before I retired, I was a front load operator for the solid waste department there where I was in Arizona. I had a supervisor that would tell us, I don't pay you to think, I pay you to know. I do not pay you to think, I pay you to know. These officers signed up to serve and to protect, and they did not do that. They did not do that. They did not protect, and they did not serve. But my question that brings me behind this podium, the chief of police, who does he answer to? City manager? The other day, I was going east, right here on the 90, and a police officer get behind me from Grove all the way to 4th Street. And he was tailgating me. I mean, he was right on me. I knew when he get right behind me, he was running my plates. I knew when he ran my plates, he was going to know who I am, Daniel Myers. Now, I'm not here to make a name for myself, but I live here. This is my community. I live here. We pastor a church here. And this officer, and I didn't know, I couldn't get a number, a police car number. He followed me. I mean, he was right on me. I don't know if there was an act of intimidation or what it was, but somebody needs to talk to the city manager, tell the city chief of police to not intimidate these people. Don't do that, because we're irritated and frustrated as it is. I felt so close, Mr. Mayor, to slamming my brakes with my phone live and yelling at him, "Why are you tailgating me?" But I didn't do that because, as he wanted me to mess up. He wanted to pull me over. And he had the authority to do that because he's a police officer. But that's wrong. That's wrong what he did. That's wrong what he did. And I hope that he doesn't do anybody else of our community like that. This happened to me. And it wasn't nice, Mr. Mayor. It wasn't nice.
I'll tell you the same thing that I told the family members who told me. You want my cell phone number, I'll give it to you. That happens, call me. I'll get the city manager on the phone or whatever. We're not gonna stand for that, for harassment. I don't know what, we're not gonna do that. I have talked with our city manager and our police chief about that. I don't think any council member up here would go along with any kind of harassment by our police department, any citizens in this community.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As of then, it hasn't happened up to now, but it did happen that one time. But Mr. Mayor, I mean, he was right on me, and that's not right. Thank you.
Is there any family or anybody from Uvalde before I let anybody else speak from outside? That we didn't give a chance to speak. Okay, sir, now you can have your name, Mr. Rizzo.
Mainly, my name is Rosenberg Lisa, and I'm from Uvalde. Most of you know me. Yeah, my name is Rosenberg Lisa. I'm from Uvalde, and like I said, most of you know me. And mainly this is, probably I'll address this to the police chief, Mr. Rodriguez. And I know, and maybe I should have waited for, it's on the agenda for the hiring of the assistant police chief. What is it that you're gonna be looking for to make sure, because I believe, I may be wrong, but didn't Chief Arredondo work for the city of police of Uvalde?
He did at one point.
And who actually hired him at that time?
That I don't know.
And I guess the bottom line is that nobody actually checked
into his background.
I think any of us were here when that was over.
17 years ago, he worked in Uvalde Police Department.
So, my concern is, and I know Mr. Rodriguez, is that you have to really check the background. I mean, actually call the employers, past employers, and I'm not just talking about the first one that comes across. You gotta go 10, 15, 20 years back. You know, if they already that old, per se speaking, of age, which hopefully you'll get somebody that has had training, that really has had training in shootings and everything. Because my personal opinion, I'm also a military member. If you have not experienced anything like that, when it happens, that's when your mind starts just going all over the place. Shoot out or shoot not. And let me tell you, it does work like that. Because I was in one of those situations also. So I just want to make sure that the police chief, city manager, will take that time, even if it takes a little longer, but make sure that he is credible, he's going to be held accountable, and so are both of you, because you were the ones that hired him. That's all I want to say.
Sir, one more citizen outside the house.
Buenas tardes, Uvalde Mayor and Council. Guardians, my respect to your amazing, strong families and hardcore teachers. No se dejen que sean bien tercos para la gloria de los 21 angelitos. We don't have to go to Jerusalem or Bethlehem to be on sacred ground. Uvalde is already sacred ground. Our Father who is in heaven is also very present here. Because like a parent, he wants to be with the children who suffer the most. And also, I forgot to say my respect to the survivors, the teachers, and the student survivors. That was really tough. Let's come face to face with our souls. To all state leaders, especially those not present, and to the governor. A los líderes políticos del estado y al gobernador. Ustedes también no han estado presentes. Ellos han estado presentes. Vamos a enfrentar la conciencia. God has presented you with a sacred opportunity to help these deeply wounded people. And you must keep that in mind. There are huge and sacred wounds here. 19 angelical super children and 2 super teachers, muy hermosas, makes this very sacred. Your response and actions, or God forbid, lack of action, will make you or break you, not only in humanity's eyes, but more fiercely in God's eyes. You have inherited tremendous divine responsibility. Leaders, state leaders, and governor, God is talking to you through these suffering families. Take a divine hint. Do not be cold nor indifferent, or the lukewarm whom God throws up. God forbid those who try to ignore these suffering families or act lukewarm. God loves his 21 angels in heaven, as well as these families here on earth. And these families have a great thirst for justice, and God is ready to quench their thirst. He's watching your every move, but most of all, your intention. Líderes y políticos del Estado, what is so difficult about changing the age from 18 to 21? ¿Qué tanto les cuesta? If one less child is killed, because we made it harder, more complicated, for an immature, dangerous youth to obtain a semi-auto war weapon. It was so damn worth it, don't you think so? We are not asking to ban guns. For one, change the age to a more mature age and keep assault, semi-auto war weapons away from immature, dangerous chiflados. Leave the assault war weapons to the military or law enforcement so that they can be feared by these dangerous young killers. I myself am 55 years old. As we approach old age, we feel the aches and pains of growing older, a reminder of our deteriorating bodies as we get closer to death. It can be scary. So why not be daring and do something so great for heaven's sake? How much have you to lose? For these 21 angels, give these families great and awesome responses. Minimize the chances. Make it difficult for a dangerous killer youth to obtain extremely destructive war weapons. Remember, they choose these semi-auto war weapons because they're faster and capable of killing more. State leaders and politicians make Texas a safer world for their children, including your children and everyone's children. Don't allow the smallest chance to have your own grandchildren fall victims to the semi-auto war weapons fired by a dangerous killer youth. You have the divine opportunity to do something awesome, and in this time of awful suffering, you cannot be lukewarm, because this time it was way too much. Remember, 21 angelical super children and 2 superheroes so sadly perished and experienced abandonment in their life's final breath. That night became a very stormy night in more ways than one, and God was crying too. So loud, we heard his great awe through the loud thundering. It was like he was confirming our angels were not alone. Each was embraced by God's loving arms in their greatest time of need, like footprints in the sand. And God had prepared a place for each of these beautiful angels to be safe in the loving kingdom of heaven. And with the greatest perfect love, God opened his almighty arms to receive these brave and super angels. Matthew 19:14, let the children come to me and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to them. The kingdom of heaven belongs to these beautiful children. Dios nos ayude.
Hi, my name is Anita Bush. I'm president of Victims First. I have had 2 mass shootings in my family. One where Hill was murdered, and the other where Stacy survived by running for her life through a hail of bullets. I'm not from Uvalde, but we are a community of mass shooting victims over 20 years of mass shootings. We have seen pretty much everything that you can imagine. We've helped people, families of the deceased, catastrophically injured, those who have been, shot, injured, and survived a mass shooting. For many weeks, we were trying to get local funds that were for immediate needs into the hands of those who needed it most or who impacted. We did everything in our power to do that. We suggested very strongly that these funds get to the families immediately and without invasion of privacy, and in the quickest way possible, with a form that was easily understood by a trauma brain, which is what people, everyone has a hard time after mass shooting, filling out those forms. We also wanted to make sure that nobody was turned away, and that people who were truly helped got those funds. When you have designated funds, as you do, or those funds already allocated from these local areas, what we've seen and what we've heard over the past week has been very disheartening. we want to make sure that families are not turned away and they're not told that in order to get the funds, they could apply later on but have to pay a registration fee. We want to make sure that these funds are sent out immediately to anybody who needs them. And you have no idea what it's like. You have just no idea what it's like to try to stand again after this, to try to function. I'm here with someone else who survived a mass shooting. I'm here with another person who was shot and still carries the wounds with her. And we can tell you that it's, you know, sometimes people who think they know best know the least. And we are begging people to re-examine that form, that intake form, so privacy is ensured. They will not have to name their minor children. They will not have to tell people whether they're in therapy or not, and do it in a way that allows victims privacy and dignity. And I'm asking you that, please, from all of us, please do it in the simplest way possible. Don't turn people away. Those funds are already allocated for them. The other question I have, what happens if all those funds are not given out, or is the plan to give all those funds out? If the funds are not all given out, it should go down to zero if it's all for the victims. If it's not, does it go back to the community? Do you know, Mr. Mayor?
First of all, the Rob School Fund, my understanding is that money will go to the victims, 100%. All of it. Now, in answer to your question on the other, we've been working with Minstrel Alliance, Uvalde Volunteer Fire Department, and we do have funds there that we've been trying to get to families as they need them, and they tell us when we're getting them. I've argued from day one with the governor's office and everybody to get people in here, get these people what they need. And, you know, I know that some of the family members now have advocates that are there for them, they can call and get help and get things they need. But I don't know all the answers to what they're getting and what they're not getting.
Yeah, we've been helping. We've been keeping people on their feet. The Grimmy Foundation has been keeping people on their feet. But I'm concerned about the local funds.
I think to clear things up, we have nothing to do with the Rob Fund.
No, it's not the Rob Fund. That's going to go to the National Passion Fund, and we know that 100% of what goes in there is going directly to the victims in cash payments. But I'm talking about the local funds from the churches and elsewhere.
It's getting to it. I'm with the fire department, and we distribute money every 2 weeks. As long as the donations come in, we distribute money to all the injured, and now we've included those who lost family. We concentrate on the injured. And along with that, I think the VFW, the American Legion, I know the Catholic Church, and I'm not sure, I think some other churches, they do it. We do it in a very private way. We don't allow press. It's very quiet. We're with the families. We have a lot of respect for the families, and we are distributing money.
That
As long as it's
form.
donated to us, given to us.
Right, that form.
We don't have any forms here.
There's a form on Hope for Uvalde.
I don't know what, that has nothing to do with us.
It's
We don't have forms.
very long, and it's very invasive.
The form may be the one for the Rob Fund.
Yeah, that's not, that doesn't have anything to do with what we as a church do with money.
The Hope for Uvalde has a form on there. It's an invasive one.
I don't even know who is that. We don't know who that
They
is.
said it's Ministry Alliance.
On the 11th, they're gonna have the meeting again at the Fairplex, so I encourage everybody to go, because that's how they're gonna distribute all the funds.
That's for the Rob Fund.
That's for the Rob Fund.
That's different. I'm talking
I
about.
don't
the
know, but
local.
we'll look into it.
Thank you very
That's
much.
the first time I heard of that.
And I would really like to find out, I mean, if somebody could, because there's a lot of misinformation, and just to clarify, what happens is that fund, or the local, immediate needs, emergency needs fund, is that gonna go down to zero, because it's all allocated for the victims? And if it doesn't, does it go back into the community? Does anyone?
My understanding of the Minstrel Alliance, and again, I don't know, stay there, but their fund is there for the families that need it, to help them whenever they need it. If it goes down to zero, it goes down to zero. If there's money left over there, it will be a community still to help members of the community as they need help. That's my understanding.
Aren't those funds already allocated for the families?
My understanding of the Minstrel Alliance is coming from different churches around the country. It's them to use for the families or to use for the community as you see fit need to be used. That, I can't answer that, when I'm not involved in that side of it.
Well, I've understood that there have been families turned away, so please look into that, and please
I will.
don't turn anyone away, people need help.
I'm gonna do my plug
Thank
again
you.
for all the press, Uvalde Volunteer Fire Department, has a PayPal charitable fund. Please put it out there. We accept all donations and we write checks to these charities. We will take care of it.
No.
And I'll give you my number.
Thank you. Thank you very
Mm-hmm.
much.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi guys, so I just want to take a minute. I should just look at all y'all. Because last I remembered, we were all human here. Everybody's got a beating chest, right? We all got a heart. We all got a family here. Might show it in different manners. Our love might be different spectrums. It might look a little different. We might be from the country or from the city. Just because I look like an outsider doesn't mean I'm not a human just like you, and doesn't mean I don't have children and love them just like you. I'm here because I'm passionate about this city, and I don't want it to happen in mine. I'm also here because, do you guys accept federal funds? Don't accept federal taxes? Okay, so the fact of the matter is that these guys do accept federal tax money, which means that they are actually employees for the whole nation. They represent the city, yes, but
I'm
they
right there. I get no federal funds.
You don't accept federal funds here?
Not
Uvalde
that I
does not accept, y'all's county does not accept federal funds?
Well, that'd be across the street.
And y'all would be a part of the county, correct?
Well, city board. I don't know any federal funds.
You do get federal, okay, so you do get federal funds, okay, so that's why I'm here.
Police equipment and all.
The police here are public employees, hold on one second.
Most of that's coming to the state, so we do get.
Erie, give me a second.
We get funds from the federal.
Thank you for admitting that for me.
Well,
They were saying we didn't accept, you didn't accept any.
Well, you know,
For grants and things like that.
Okay, so we do accept federal funds, and the police officers here are public employees that are also part of that accepting of those federal funds, which means that money's coming out of my pocket as well, which means I have just as much here, maybe not as invested because I don't pay the city tax or county tax because I don't have a property right here, but I'm right down the road, guys. Born and raised in Texas, Christian man. My mom taught me to treat every person as my neighbor, and the sad part is that we're coming here to try to show love, try to bring exposure to the situation, and I'm getting called things like those other people and those guys with the cameras when we're only here to help you. And so I hope that we could close that gap between the outsiders and the people, because we're all humans with a heartbeat and we all have children and loved ones. I hope y'all have a blessed day.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Anybody that was on here that didn't come. Or any of you next time.
I was born and raised here. Good evening. I know Mr. Sonora, I know most of y'all. It's sad that our city's being divided. I'm not saying everybody, but some of y'all that come up here screaming and yelling is not gonna get anything done. All they're gonna do is gonna sit there and look at you. Unless you can talk civilly and get to your point and say it in a way that they would understand how you feel. That's how we get it across. That's how we do it. That's how Uvalde does it. We don't come over here yelling and screaming, and yes, we might get angry and they'll stand there and they'll be like, okay, calm down. Like I was just told right now. And I had to go to another room and they put me in timeout. And that was Chief Rodriguez who had to do that. Because somebody was telling the officers, take off your mask. They don't have to.
Take off your thin blue line mask is what I said.
You told the other officer to take off his mask.
Use
And
that
shush,
mask is what I
I'm
said.
talking. You're not up
You
here.
addressed me.
I didn't address you. Anyway, like he told me to shut the F up, and I shouldn't have, but I told him back. Because guess what? He's not from here. He's not from Uvalde. We get these people that put on the news, hey, this was done that way, this was done that way. How do they know all of it's true? We still have another investigation that is going on. But yet we're gonna have people come up here and yell and scream at our council members, at our mayor, at our superintendent, at the board members, at our police officers. You know what? I was harassed last week by DPS. He played chicken with a vehicle I was in with 3 women, which for me was one of them, an 89-year-old woman, and 2 children. And then a sheriff deputy got behind them. I called 911 because we didn't know who the other car was. For 5 miles, they did that. Between 11 and 12 o'clock at night. Why aren't we arguing with DPS? I know DPS for a fact was the first ones there because they're all the way down Highway 83. Every corner all the way going to La Pryor. They're at the first entrance, they're at the third entrance. They're over here by that new building for the, what is the river? River Authority. They're always parked there, 2 or 3. And I know for a fact they were there that day. Why aren't we arguing with them? They were the first ones there. I just saw a news report 2 minutes after the shooter got there, DPS was there. Why aren't we arguing with them? I'm a veteran. I never went anywhere. I stayed in San Antonio at Fort Sam. Would I have gone? Yes. Would I have stood in the way? Maybe. I don't know. I was not there, and I wouldn't have known what I would have done. In the military, yes, you do sign the dotted line, and you get trained for that. The training begins at the police academy. That's where we need to start incorporating that. Incorporating what situations might be handled like this. Because we in Uvalde never thought this would happen here. We in Uvalde thought we were away from Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston. I mean, come on. Uvalde's a small town. Canepa's right there. So is Sabinal. You know, we're a small community that have all these communities around us, and we treat each other nicely, respectfully. I mean, yes, they're going to have the police accountability, but they have a process they have to go through. Just like with any job in the world that you go to, any job, you have to go through your chain of command in the military. Am I right? You have to go through your chain of command, and this is our chain of command, right here. We're going through our chain of command. It's not going to be fast. It's not going to be quick. But we still have another investigation that DPS is the one investigating it. Colonel McCraw was the first one out there pointing fingers here instead of saying we. Because there were DPS, Border Patrol, Sheriff, at the PD, and the school district PD. Why didn't he say we? Why did he just say Uvalde PD? Hey, you know, he's the one at fault. Why didn't he say we? In the military, we don't do we. One. We don't go, oh, Mr. Someone, you did it. No, we did it. Because there's no I in our military. There's all of us. Our community needs to come together. And we're not. And it's sad because I grew up here. My dad taught 32 years in room 1 at Robb Elementary. I remember I was able to walk at night with my dad to go home. He was my teacher. And we can't do that nowadays. And somebody had to tell me, those times are gone. Kids are being raised differently. There's a lot of getting on the phone, a lot of playing these games like he was a gamer, was directed the wrong way, was treated wrongly in school, been bullied. Us, we were bullied in school. He beat you up. It wasn't words. It wasn't on the phone. They kick your behind. How do I know that? Because I was almost one of those. But I had good friends. I had people behind me. Nowadays, they don't do that. Now they verbally abuse you. They verbally abuse you to your face. They verbally abuse you on the internet. They show pictures, degrade you. And we're doing the same thing, like at the board meeting. Degrading the superintendent. a Mexican by phone call, and that Mexican was my father. I need a job. You got it. Deal with the paperwork later. John Harold. I highly respect that. Because back then, things weren't like that always. And I want our town to come together. But these people that want to come and scream at y'all and yell at y'all, that's not right. If we want to get things done, we need to talk. I stopped him at a board meeting and I appreciated him. Because of all the abuse that people have done, because it is abuse, yelling at them, screaming at them, is not getting us anywhere. All these cameras are watching us. And all these people screaming and yelling, and that aren't from here, you look like clowns and making us look bad. And you're tearing our town apart. And you're dividing our town. And it is true. Because I've spoken to a lot of people. And I know people who wish that this would stop. Y'all, excuse me, some of y'all are sitting here. You're from Uvalde. Y'all are from Uvalde. You're not. She is. They are. We had some people that were not in Uvalde. We have a small community. We need to be in here too. That teacher, I've known him for the longest time, since 1993. I've known Irma, and they've known my son. I had ex-students who lost their babies. It affects everybody in this town. In this town right now. You say no, but you don't personally.
The whole country is affected by this tragedy.
No.
The whole country.
I'm speaking.
The whole country.
The whole country feels it, but nobody feels it worse than the people that know each other. That's an ant right there next to you.
I came 1,800 miles to support this man, this children.
You
1,800 miles.
You know what? Hush.
Not for any other reason.
Hush.
We're not here. We stood up so y'all burned it down.
Yeah, well, some of y'all did. Some of y'all did. Not everybody.
These outsiders, remember.
Yes. I'm not talking about you.
Okay, thank you.
But we need to come together, and we need to come and talk respectfully and rightfully to these gentlemen up here. Just like they said, they're not. How much do you get paid?
$45.
You tell me, for $25, $50, and they want to do it for us, and take time out of their day, out of their family, and sit here and listen to us, we should give them that respect. And just because things aren't done like right now, doesn't mean that it's not going to get done. It's going to get done, but it does take time, just like everything else in this world. And God will provide us with what we need. And I want to apologize for that, because I feel bad that you were treated that way. My parents taught me never to say no to anybody, to be kind to everybody. My mother, back then, the Jehovah's Witnesses would knock on your doors. She opened the curtain and said no. And this was always a joke, and they would laugh. But I cried that day, because you can't say no. That's how they taught me. That's what they showed me. And that's how this town is. You help each other. You be there for each other. No matter what. You see somebody broke down, you go and help them. If you can't help them, you find somebody. And one day my dad did get that when he drove from San Antonio over here. And it was one of his ex-students. And my dad beamed because he was given that opportunity to see one of his ex-students. 32 years was given to Rob and Benson Elementary here in Uvalde because of Mr. John Harrell. He was city mayor at one time, and or was he manager?
Both.
Both. And I got to work with him again. I got to work with him 2 times for the school district, and then when I worked for Mr. Lewis Fort Worth Clovis, because he was the city attorney at the time. And I would appreciate those that are from Uvalde to speak respectfully to these men. Because when you leave, this is what we have. When you leave, this is what we have to deal with when y'all go home.
She can shake her head.
So, you know, these police officers, yes, they will get what they are needed because of the fact of the process, and plus, they'll need to hire.
Well, check that, we do that,
So,
why can't?
and you know, that once they get hired, then the process will keep on going.
I have one question. The young man that was sitting next to me who is afraid to go to school because he thinks the cops ain't gonna do nothing. And we're asking these gentlemen to set a precedent by firing these guys. And you think that's bad? And we
No,
did it.
I'm not thinking that's bad. No,
How
you're not
long
listening
do you
to
want to
me.
wait for the process before that kid feels comfortable going
You know
back to
what?
school? He should have never dealt with that.
You know, like I said, whenever you want them to have accountability. Okay, fire
If
the
the dad
police
could say to his
officers, but
son that
are you
they
gonna put
fired
them?
all
Are
those
you gonna
police
go to the
officers,
academy
that
and
would
go
be
put
the
on the
precedent this
uniform?
county.
I've done
this
that,
city
I've been
needs.
on the uniform, and I would not cower down.
All right,
They
that's
hide
it.
behind it. They hide behind it.
Sir,
They blue line,
you're leaving the chamber.
your job, $50, you get a raise, you do it better.
Anybody else outburst again, the lady was speaking, you can leave. You can leave now. I don't know, you're not. We're done. This lady's the last one to do our open comments tonight, and then we're gonna go to our business, but we're done.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Hey, we'll give you the opportunity.
Yeah, go ahead. But I'm done, but I do appreciate what y'all have been. Y'all still sit here. Y'all still are going through this with all of us from Uvalde, and I understand that other people hurt, other people think that they don't know Uvalde.
So I do want to say something. I'm not sure who that lady is, but we've been fighting. It sounds like she's fighting for the cops more than the community. I don't know that.
No,
But-
that's for everybody, because
Now I'm
we need them.
speaking. Now I'm speaking. So I will say, I've talked to every single family member, and they tell me not to stop fighting. Do not stop fighting. Don't shut up. And I've been some of the ones that've been yelling. You're saying they're yelling and all this stuff. I've been doing that too. But we've been asking for more people to come, to protest with us, to stand with us.
Tienen miedo.
It's like 10 people, 15 people out of the 15,000 or 20,000, but if there's something free, they're there. So this is for the children, but I stand with the parents and they back me up. And they're telling me not to stop. Don't stop fighting. They don't want to come. They don't want to come right now. They can't. I understand you have a relationship with the cops or whatever it is. We're all in this together, but they tell us not to stop fighting. We're not going to stop fighting. These guys are coming in. Maybe it's necessary for something to happen.
Yes.
But I yell, they yell. Sometimes we're passionate about this.
I
We
can
just want
understand the
something to get
parents,
done.
and I can understand the community here, but others that, you know,
You can pick and choose.
it's your community. You're the ones
We're
fighting
asking
that.
you to come and help and stand with us.
I'm not
I
saying that I'm
haven't seen
protecting
you protest.
I'm not.
We've
I don't-
been here.
I
You've been
have-
protesting in
I
the
have
heat.
not protested because, for one, I'm divided. I'm
That's
divided
your
because
choice.
that's
I'm with the families. I get emails saying, please continue to fight until something happens.
They can't speak, they're in
15
grief.
people, 20 people. We're
And I
asking
can
for more.
understand you protesting, and I can understand you as part of the family and part of the families here.
You can't pick and choose.
But the part of the thing,
1,800 miles to
there's
come here
some
and help
people
these
that
men
come
out.
in here and they degrade these gentlemen. That's what I'm talking about.
That's a First Amendment.
I'm not talking about.
Maybe that's what they need, so they can move
I'm
out
not-
off their
Free
assets.
speech is meant to cover controversial speech, not non-controversial speech. Free speech is in the
I'm sorry. All
Get
right.
down line again, we're not gonna do it again. Adam, we'll let you finish, we've cut you off 3 times, so we'll let the man behind you
Sorry.
speak. After that, we're going
I'm
to
all,
city business.
we're in this together. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying that we need more people to stand up. We've been calling on the people, family members want us to continue fighting. Please join us so that we can get some answers. It seems like it's been working. She says it's not getting anywhere. I believe it is. And we're gonna keep fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amen. Thank you for having us. Trust me this. The right
So
one.
they can do their job.
Thank you for standing up. Thank you for allowing me to speak, Mayor. Thank you, City Manager, for allowing me to talk. I don't believe I need a mic. I think my voice escalates enough. Yes, sir. And I just want everybody here, the citizens of Uvalde, to know is that us outsiders that you guys seem to not like and push us away, we feel the same pain that you do. And we're all American citizens. And yes, we are divided as a people, not only in Uvalde, but in America as well. And I've tried to push it so many times to wake so many people up, only to be labeled and pushed away and called many derogatory names that you guys wouldn't even think of. Okay? And I understand there's a process with you gentlemen. I do. I truly do. But there needs to be an expedition in that process. And these people need to know that you stand for them and that you're really going to do something for them. And even if that means transparency and allowing them to know step-by-step process and how that's getting done and how you're making movement toward getting that end result. Sometimes the only thing to really keep you bonded are the small things that really matter. And if it means mere communication, then that's what we need to be doing for the people of Uvalde. And the memorials that need to be sitting over there at Town Square, those need to be made out of gold, marble, and any other fine metals that you can think of. And it doesn't need to come out of these people's pockets. In my opinion, it needs to come out of 376 officers' pockets. That's what I think. Neither one of those officers need to be paid. And that gentleman right there is a direct reflection, just earlier, of how the leadership acts in this community for the people.
Shame on him.
And also the lady that spoke over here earlier about the DPS harassing your citizens, I got video footage of that. And if you'd like that, City Manager, I'd be more than happy to give that to you. The last time I was out here, DPS followed me, wrote down my vehicle number, wrote down my identity, followed me to the Billy Bob, sat there while I had lunch, and then literally stood up and wrote all my vehicle information around and followed me for the rest of town. And that was right after our communication. So your DPS is doing stuff out here to these people. And you want to talk about creating disdain between the community and people? It may not be your officer, but it was that gentleman earlier. But it is also the state PD here. And who has control of that? Who has the communication between their leadership to make that change and make sure that they're not doing the same thing and creating more divide amongst the people?
Right.
The people sit here and talk about officer safety, officer safety, officer safety. The thin blue line, that thing that gentleman wears on his mask and it desecrates my American flag that I lost brothers for, and a lot of us veterans here fought for and lost brothers for. And he has the audacity to walk around like that.
Shame.
It's not protecting the
There
virus
needs to
from
be
it.
change. And I understand that you gentlemen are making change, but it needs to be expedited. These people need to be in that process, even if it means being in the know. I think you owe them that. And I think that's fair. But I do stand for people in Uvalde, and I do feel your pain. Whether you think I don't or I do, I promise you. And I would stand in front of you before any of these officers would ever even give their own lives to protect you. I'd give my own for you. I promise you that.
Gracias.
I don't know who that lady was that spoke up earlier, that she was in the service, Central Public Service. Everyone up here on this city council chose to be here. Okay? I chose to be a part of this governing body. Somewhat late. Unfortunately, we had a tragic incident on May 24th. It involved obviously several agencies, one on the police department. You know, we had these people from out of town, what have you. That only tells me that the world is watching what we're doing. The country is watching what Uvalde is going to do in this situation. I listened to some of the comments. Cultural change, absolutely. We need to have a change within our local government, and I'm talking about departments within police agencies in Uvalde. There needs to be a change. It ain't business as usual. It can't be. We can't afford it. Our children, our families, our community cannot afford business as usual. There needs to be change. And there will be change. And it is going to take some time. We need to navigate through this process. We need to know where we failed. And it's pretty obvious to say, well, they didn't do anything. Well, my question is, why not? Why didn't you act? You see the video, it's pretty obvious. But, it goes a little bit deeper than that. There's leadership involved. And those leaders need to be held accountable for their subordinates. Because a subordinate is going to follow the leader. That's the way it works. And so if they see a leader that's not moving, that's not making a decision, very few followers will actually step up. But there needs to be change. I appreciate all the comments that were made here tonight, whether you're from Uvalde or not, but that just only tells me that the world is watching to see what Uvalde is going to do. This is a situation that's affected not only our community, but our country, our state. And we need to, and we're going to act on it. We're going to hold people accountable to it. We, as a city council, owe it to the community of Uvalde. And this community, they say we're close-knit, we're a tight-knit family, we stick together. We're all good. The only people I see here are the victims' family. They need support. They need people to come out and support them. At least stand in the audience, stand in the hallways and say, your actions speak loudly. If this place was full, I can understand Uvalde is close. Uvalde is being supported by its community. But who's here? The victims. And I feel for them. I really do. But we're going to get past this. This will pass. And I believe that decisions, the right decisions are going to be made. But we just let the process take its course. And then we'll see how everything turns out, and we hope that everything is for the better for Uvalde, because our city deserves, our community deserves nothing but the best. Thank you. Thank you.
Item 5, consent agenda, 5A, B, and C. Consider and act on the minutes of July 26, 2022, regular city council meeting. Consider payment of bills over $5,000 from July 22nd, 22 through August 5th, 2022. 5C, consider request from IT department to decommission outdated hardware.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion made by Councilman Levno, second by Councilman Balky. I'll abstain on 5A. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 6, report. 6A, report. Councilman Steve Balky provide an update on the budget process for fiscal year 2022-2023.
We met yesterday in our agenda package. We established our revenues and also established expenses. Not every department got everything they wanted. It's more money than we generate. So we get the most important ones. So I think the real key is that, and we'll discuss it tonight, we have lowered our tax rate. Our current effective tax rate is 66.55. We're proposing to lower it to 61.7, which is about 4.85. Our percentage-wise, a little over 7% lower tax rate. Does that mean you're going to get a lower tax bill? come down every year to tax rate.
Item 7, matters related to 7A, consider resolution proposing a property tax rate for year 2022-23, setting public hearing on such proposed tax rate, setting a public hearing on the proposed year 2022-2023 budget, setting a public hearing for citizens' input on projects to be considered for the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget. Public hearing will be held August 23rd, 2022. Have a roll call vote. All those in favor of that?
Not to exceed, go beyond that. If it's still possible. Quite a few things are not. A lot more detail.
I didn't come 1,800 miles to make a use of it. I came 1,800 miles because I have a local community. I came 1,800 miles to stand up for you guys. This may just look like a cell phone camera. But at the other end of this, we're talking 100,000 people.
We got New York, Houston, Texas, Florida. We came from all over the world to help you guys.
There's up to about a month ago, several families of the victim who left the city. It was just tired because we were hurt.
It's hard to argue with someone when you're going through something.
What happens to you a bit because it's going to show us police officers shouldn't embarrass me. You know what they said? I got that. That's not the precedent for what it's taking. It really hits a part of these police beyond the state law. You know what point is this kid's son? If he hurt, all those police are fired, there's no police, that could be fixed like this.
I didn't mean to scream and scare you, I promise. It wasn't about you.
That could be fixed like this.
Sorry.
That's the precedent.
They care about you.
They don't.
Oh, he knows that.
Me, I'm from out of the city.
I don't run.
I'm there all the time, Andy. I'm there every
Yeah, I told him, he knows.
It's because I don't run. I'm here to argue for those that are a little passive. Some people don't like to argue, some people are afraid to argue, some people are afraid to speak out. I'm here to speak out.
The man talks about he's not going to make that precedent to fire the police beyond the state law. But that precedent that he did, that will fix that problem.
Yeah.
That's the precedent we need. That's the precedent that the rest of this country needs to see.
We need about 100 more of you.
But not to say that we're not from Uvalde and that doesn't affect us. That's horse. That's horse crap because that does affect us. I didn't travel 1,800 miles for any other reason than it does affect us.
Believe me, man, I'm on the side. I mean, you know that. I think I know that.
Does she have something to read? Because I think there would be some.
It was my.
I thought you maybe had something. Because coming from a younger person like you, it would have been more tremendous than any of us yelling or all these people talking. If you guys want to go up there and talk and tell them how you feel, you should do that because that could cause real positive change. You bring it there and you want to say something and you want to speak in there, you should do it now because it would be very important and powerful for those sitting up there.
Is it about ending? Is it about over, or some more people speaking?
Yeah, there's some agenda items.
But the citizens to be heard are over?
Yeah. Reality. Something you want to say to the people watching, like in regarding Corners News from the radio? Maybe that's something you want to say. Yeah? We're not.
Yeah, I mean, we need more help that we can get. You know, we're protesting and we're fighting for the families. They don't have an ending, but they are reaching out privately and saying, please continue to fight. And so we need more voices until we get answers, until we change the status quo here in Uvalde City, until to change our reputation to show that we are really strong. Because that is strong hashtag doesn't mean anything.
Right. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for helping speak up, man. A lot of people are going to keep talking trash about me, but I'm not going to stop coming. I'm going to come over and over and over. They think it's stress. Hey, look at this. I haven't ever been treated this way. I've always been told I'm treated like I'm trash. This is not my day, my life. So I'm used to people doing that. I'm used to people telling me I'm not ready. It doesn't make sense. It encourages me to go harder. So next person tells me how much I need to go. It only makes me come. And to see all that support and love for us is really Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I give you a hug, I'm a little funky. I was wondering about blaming him. Like I said, it'll really help you with this thing, guys. That's why I'm making that show. Music, you want to do it.
It's not, there's not a person in New York who wouldn't say, most of that police
Great to meet you guys.
person in this country. Like I said, those are black people.
You know what they say, if you can't get through the training, man, you gotta run for yourself. I was thinking, you need to run. I was at the nerve.
I just want to, like, you heard it, like, that film, or that one time, nobody's ever said that. We're on the stage of the whole world, we're on the stage of the whole country. That's what I want to accomplish. I want them to know that, I know that Texans don't like New Yorkers and Yankees. I feel you're a Yankee, and every time they bring their ball over their head, so they understand that this isn't a Uvalde problem. This is a problem you created for the whole entire country and the world. This plus police officers is dangerous across the whole country. Right? These are people, like people who watch my videos are sometimes people who hate police. I love the red film with the good interaction with police officers. They're kind of how is that? And that guy up there says, well, it's not a precedent worker. It's not a behavior citizens talking to us. But like he said he wants to require officers. First cases as a precedent is not way to set. The whole precedent already set. We're definitely setting a precedent. The precedents that we want to see is we want that kid to go back to school and his father to be able to tell him, don't worry, all those police officers